The Berlin Thunder are on the road again after earning their first victory of the year over the Alpine Rams in a rainy showdown in Switzerland. They travel to the beautiful city of Florence, Italy to take on the Red Lions, who will look to bounce back after a tough loss on the road in Paris.
Now he tries to hurdle a defender.
Red Lions quarterback Matthew McKay will look to get that offense going after stalling out in week 2.
McKay, he had some pressure coming at him.
Sean Cooper's Berlin squad is looking to keep the momentum going, and it'll all come down to veteran quarterback Jacob Sullivan.
Into the end zone, touchdown, Berlin Thunder.
Sullivan has started off hot this season, finding success distributing the football to his three-headed monster wide receiver in Cole, Kawanda, and Chun. Can the Red Lions bounce back and get on the right track at home, or will the Berlin Thunder walk away with back-to-back road victories? It's Week 3 action in the AFLE in Florence, Italy. Right, Danny. Florence, Italy, man, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And this is interesting. Berlin Thunder, like we said, they're on the road for the first 5 games of the season. And that is sure to take a toll on the team, just constantly being on the road, constantly having to travel, kind of a big emotional hangover, possible win for last week in Switzerland against the Rams. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, first of all, how awesome are those trailers, man? We got to credit our editors, the voice behind it, everyone behind it. Man, those trailers are awesome, man. I think about that. You get a trailer to watch those games. That's incredible how those are done. But like you said, Berlin's going to be on the road for a long time, but I do think they're hitting their stride. Man, I'm excited to see what the Red Lions put out there, though. Again, we saw some flashes of the Red Lions being a competitive team. They took the lead early on versus Paris, go up 8-0. I thought they controlled the ball well. They're extremely well coached, and they may look on paper overmatched at times, but I think they're in every single game just because of how well they're coached, man. So I'm excited for this game.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one, man. I think we didn't see too much from Florence in that first game. It almost felt like they were just battling the adversity of that trip and the injuries and kind of, having a player break his leg. And they were trying to just get out of there unscathed as much as possible. So that's why I'm really curious to see them in their home environment where they're able to have a little bit more of a rhythm and kind of get a routine going here. So I do think that is to their advantage. But I just need to see something more. When you have a quarterback like Matthew McKay, you will have the ability to have explosive plays, and we saw some of that. But I think the kind of consistency and the trajectory that the Berlin Thunder are on right now, they're sort of moving in the right direction. Sean Cooper, I think, is turning that ship in the right direction. Got to clean up the penalties, of course, but I do think that this one is gonna be for me. This is the one game this weekend where I feel like we do have a clear underdog. And to me, that would be Florence. So you guys can put in the chat who you think is going to win in this one. Danny, what would Florence have to do to be able to walk away with a win in this one?
Well, I love a true underdog, and they recognize that. I actually saw that last week. I don't know if that was actually their plan, but the way I watched them play versus Paris, it seemed like they approached that game the same way. They approached it in a way that they were the underdog. You saw them running the ball, trying to establish the run early on, right? When they were throwing the ball, they were safe and conservative. The ball was out quick. Now, obviously, there were some turnovers later in the game that made that game shift. But, man, I think the Red Lions, in order for them to compete in this one, again, it's about how can you control the football. And I know this sounds cliche, but then not beating yourselves, right? Not putting yourselves in penalty situations where you're going to let the Berlin defense tee off on your quarterback. And McKay's a heck of a football player, which is why I think they'd have a shot. But it's about them controlling themselves first and making this thing. Again, I've said this from a couple games before, right? I said this when Berlin had to match up against Vienna. It's now on the opposite side. I said Berlin cannot go into that game and beat themselves. They need to put themselves in a fight that Vienna didn't want to be in. Well, it's the same thing for the Red Lions. They need to create a way to be in a fight with Berlin that they don't want to be in, and see in 4 quarters if Berlin can finish it off, because they've been on the road every single game. That's where this thing will come down to.
Yeah. I do think the fact that it's a home game for Florence and that it's the third away game in a row for Berlin, this could play a factor. And we said that Ricardo Foglio in the chat also says that home game could have his impact, though. A thing for Florence last week, they were 0 for 10 on third down. So I would like to see them improve that number a little bit. Just have to be able to keep drives alive. You can't be going 3 and out. You can't be just getting knocked off the field every time you get to a third down situation. So with all that being said, Danny, the chat has picked overwhelmingly in Berlin. In favor of Berlin. I'm also going to go with Berlin on this one. I think this is sort of the biggest underdog game, like I said. So what's your take?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Berlin. Jacob Sullivan has too much experience, too many guys around him. Man, I think Berlin could pull away with this one, but I'd love to see what I just talked about from the Red Lions. Create a war this weekend when you line up against Berlin, and you could knock these guys off. But again, the X factor to me is Jacob Sullivan, and then you got John Cole to have to throw to, man. You got to figure out a way to cover him. That's going to be a real issue for the Firenze Lions.
So there we have it. We're all in agreement on this one. We're going Berlin. Florence, prove us wrong.